thank you so much for being here and investing the time, first and foremost. I think we are all very passionate about this topic. So future-proofing home ownership is significant. It's significant right now more than ever. Would you all agree?
Yes.
How many people still have children living in their basements or in a spare room? It's a real problem. One day we have a surplus of inventory. One day we have a deficit of inventory. One day we look at one credit score. The next day it's another credit score. One day we have funding. The next day we don't. So there are an array of issues facing our country today. But what we want to do is really focus in on what we can control. We want you to leave this room feeling empowered and knowing what you are capable of achieving. Empowerment is everything, right? We can talk about the obstacles all day, but that doesn't move the needle forward. But when we talk about what's possible, I mean, what's the name we're here for? Hope Global Forum? When we talk about what's possible, it's not just hope, it's inspiration to take action and mobilize for change. So again, thank you for being with us. I am Erica Acey, and I'm the head of originations for real estate lending at Truist Bank. And I am truly passionate about homeownership. We have a great panel here for you today, a lot of expertise, a ton of expertise. And I'm so honored that you all chose to join us for this discussion. So as mentioned, we're going to try to dig into some really good provocative questions, and then we really want to hear from you, your ideas. Because listen, we know a lot in this industry, but we don't have all the answers. And it's important for us to hear from you so that we continue to stay focused on the right things, and we continue to invest in our communities. So I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves, and Shireen, I'm going to start with you.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here. My name is Shireen Santosham, and I run public affairs and social impact for Zillow. Before that, I've had a number of different hats, but I spent 4 years in public service as the Chief Innovation Officer for the Mayor of San Jose, and spent a lot of my career in startups as well as big companies in Silicon Valley.
That's awesome.
Well, before I get started, I've watched a few Hope Global Forums, and I know it's a bunch of Truist people here,
Yes.
right? So I'm
Go
going to say to my Wells Fargo folks, hey Wells Fargo folks, how are you? There you go. No shade.
But we're great partners.
Of course.
We're all in this together.
I had to bring that energy, right?
I get it.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this incredible few days here at the Hope Global Forum. My name is Rulon Washington. I am the Executive Director of Mortgage Sustainability and Business Development. That is a very interesting title, yes. Right? So as we have a deeper conversation around homeownership, you'll get to understand a bit around my role, right? I have a really significant role in understanding how homeownership plays a big part in the financial journey for our consumers. And so I love what I do. I'm 19 years into the Stagecoach. It's 19 long years, but I've seen the ups and downs of housing from the housing crisis all the way until now. So I'm happy to share my insights.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Lisa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Rice. I'm the president and CEO of the National Fair Housing Alliance. The National Fair Housing Alliance is the nation's only national civil rights agency solely dedicated to eliminating discrimination, all forms of discrimination in the housing lending market. So our focus is on making sure that people have access to unfettered access to the housing and lending opportunities they deserve.
Thank you. Such an esteemed panel. Yes? Like, it's awesome. From one end of the spectrum to the next, and all around homeownership. Hey, we're partners.
There we go.
Remember?
Yes,
I was the Stagecoach once, and now I'm purple. It's all good. So let's kind of dig into the conversation around significant changes as it relates to credit reports. Right, we've seen a lot of shifts. And from a lender perspective, the costs are just continuing to rise. And at some point, we all know that that expense gets shifted to the consumer unless something changes with it. It's getting more and more expensive just for consumers to shop, to decide where they want to go for their lending needs. That's one challenge. But the more significant challenge for homeowners or consumers is the credit scoring modeling. And for those that are really interested in this room, I would highly, highly recommend that you do some research around the credit score models. And how do you improve your own personal credit score? So as I mentioned earlier, empowerment is everything. Knowledge is key. So we're going to drop some nuggets here today to make sure that you feel better educated, but please take the time yourself too. Don't stop learning. Dig in and understand, when you buy a car, how does that impact your credit? A lot of people think if I just have one credit card, I'm doing magnificent. That's not the case. So understand 30% is kind of that threshold that is viewed in terms of your credit worthiness. How much of your credit are you utilizing? So I'm going to turn it over here to the expert. So Rolanda, I want you to kind of talk about what are some practical steps, or what are practical steps that lenders are taking to integrate alternative data, responsibility, and maintaining fairness and compliance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you think about the traditional credit scoring model, we think about FICO, right? And that's been around since the 80s. Lo and behold, this year, there's something called Vantage Score 4.0. See, I knew you were going to answer that question. Vantage Score 4.0. So what's unique about Vantage Score 4.0 is it gives you an alternative look at how consumers have their credit habits housed into a score, right? So I saw an interesting data point. Do you guys know the average age or the median age of first-time home buyers today?
This is going to be interesting.
40 years old, right? 40 years old. So think about credit history. Now, out of that population, how many folks are actually checking their FICO? So as a lender, we have a tough time just getting folks to check their annual credit report.
That's right.
Right? And so when you think about alternative methods, we have to meet people where they are. So that 40-year-old family member that's looking to get into home ownership, they've probably been renting for 20 years. That history allows us to look back and see that credit worthiness. They've been paying their utility bills on time, right?
That's right.
So that allows a lender to take a different look and provide access. I believe Vantage Score's CEO mentioned it was over 30 million consumers that now have access because of this new scoring model, right? And so now it's going to be more of a bi-merge where you're going to have FICO and Vantage Score, and that allows lenders to open up the floodgates for consumers. Because one of the most difficult things for a lender is to be able to access a consumer's credit worthiness, right? Because that score, sometimes that score is difficult to understand from a consumer's perspective. There is that myth out there that you need 800 credit score to get into a home.
That's
Well,
right.
we know that's not true. But what unique ways can we as lenders understand how to really get people into home ownership with using different credit models? Because that becomes very, very unique in allowing people to get access. Because that's one of the biggest hurdles, right? You think about the upfront costs. Those are extremely difficult, right? Wage growth is not moving in the direction we want it to. So we have to find those unique ways in order to make sure that people get access to housing. And a traditional, non-traditional credit rating is a way for us to do that.
I agree. And
You
thank
want to hear a funny data point?
Yeah.
So I moved to Washington, D.C. from Toledo, Ohio in 2006. That is the year Vantage Score opened. And from 2006 through today, we've been trying to get Vantage Score validated. It took that long. It took that long for the GSEs to validate
There it is.
Vantage Score. That's 20 years.
Wow.
Almost.
It's a long
That's
time.
crazy.
So Lisa, talk to us a little bit about your thoughts around how these new credit models will or will not create disparity.
Yeah, I think that models like Vantage Score that utilize non-traditional data like rental, housing payment data will help really expand and democratize credit access. I think in the mortgage lending space, however, things will veer differently because right now lenders like Truist and Wells Fargo are using cash flow underwriting in order to qualify people for credit. If you use cash flow underwriting, you technically don't need a credit score. Now, the only reason why you need a credit score is if you want to sell that loan to the GSEs. If you want to securitize that loan, you need a credit score, right, to sell it and also to have it securitized. But I think that is going to morph, honestly, in the future, where a credit score won't even be needed. for things like credit cards, auto loans, that may be a horse of what is it? Of a different color, whatever it is, a leopard of a different stripe, or whatever it is. But definitely in mortgage, I see that happening right now.
Thank you. So I'm just kind of curious, for the folks here in the room, how many of you just get your free credit score on your app, a credit card app? How often do you pay it any attention? It's so accessible. It's at your fingertips for you to know what your credit score is all the time. And so if that's a nugget of knowledge, please take it with you. If you have a major credit card, you have access to it. And within that app, generally, are tips on how to improve your score as well. But to your point, you don't have to have an 800 credit score.
That's right.
And so if you do have a dream of home ownership and you just don't know where to go, that's why we're here at this forum. That's why all of these resources are being made available to you. So please take us up on that.
Yeah.
So Shireen, I'm really kind of curious, in your world, because you're doing so many exciting things right now, how are you seeing consumers really utilize data? When I think about Zillow and all that you offer, can you share with us a little bit about what this audience should take away and kind of what's on the horizon for AI?
Sure. Well, first, I know all of you are in bed scrolling Zillow, looking at home prices, dreaming of your new home, checking out what that house down the street sold for in your neighborhood, and so that's what folks like Zillow for. But we actually, aside from that real estate business, which is about 240 million monthly active users, a huge portion of the country come to our site every month. We also are the largest.
Say that number again?
240 million active users every month, 1.6 billion visits to the site every year. Our rentals marketplace has about 27 million renters that come to the site, and so we are the biggest rentals platform. And we have an emerging home loans business. That's about 9,000 loans we gave out last year. About 70% of them are first-time home buyers. So we really understand that journey people are taking from the first time they rent to buying their first home to downgrading to get a smaller place when they retire. And so we see a lot of activity on our sites, and we're a believer in alternative credit models. And so for a long time, we do have a tool that we've launched at scale called Credit Climb, which allows people to have rent payments paid through the Zillow app count towards building their credit. And so
you have a true source.
Yes. And it's a really useful tool, especially for smaller scale landlords who are a lot of the folks who use our portal for people to build credit very early. And so we're a believer in these alternative credit models. We're glad the GSEs are catching up. I'll leave it to the bankers to talk about how hard it is to implement, but we are rooting for everyone in that process. And today, as everybody's embracing AI, Zillow is embracing AI for everything from making it easier for consumers, making it easier for sellers, and making it easier for agents. And so for people who are looking to buy a home, we're making it easier to shop. Who has time to go in person to go look at houses during the week, right? So what can you do? You can come to our site and you can look at homes and do virtual staging. So you like farmhouse or you like mid-century modern, you can go in and you can virtually stage a house to even see and imagine yourself in it. And so there's those delightful experiences. But we are also the OG AI platform, right? Mm-hmm. So the Zestimate gave consumers transparency into what a home should be worth. And that is not a replacement. I have to say, it's not a replacement for an appraisal. But if you remember the old days, how did you know how much a home was worth?
Right.
That's right.
It's a great start.
You went to a real estate agent and hoped they pulled the right comps and hoped they had the right experience. And today we have a data-driven way to look at those things. And so we're taking it to the next level and giving people tools to understand how much they can afford, how they can save, whether they should be rooted to a credit counselor to help them increase their score. So we have a lot of activity that we hope is empowering
Which
for
is so
consumers.
impactful.
Wow.
And to your point, so I'm thinking about me in just this moment and how you started out. How many people pulled it up just to see the house down the street? What did it sell for? And I'm like, that's me, right? How much? But the reason that we do that is because we're very curious about the equity that we have in our properties, right? Because we all know that homeownership is the start to generational wealth, which is why we talk about this topic so intently. And I'm just kind of curious from the audience, how much equity do you think we have in the United States, untapped equity today? Very close. 35 trillion. So as we're here at this forum and we're talking about small businesses, entrepreneurs just starting off, what's one of the best ways to tap into money for that business? Liquidity, right? It's pulling out the equity of your home. And so another reason why it's just so critical to make sure that we understand how to utilize our homes to fund other ventures, how to have that residual income. It just keeps going. But the bottom line is it is the start for generational wealth. And more people actually can be in homes than we think. The dream of homeownership seems so elusive for people because they don't understand all of the dynamics. But that's why, again, it's important to talk to people and learn and get educated around what you can do. And so, Lisa, I want to come back to you because as I'm saying this, there's a foundational component around education. So please share with us, what are some of the elements around education that folks should really take away, options, how to lean in and really make sure you're educated for this journey of homeownership because it's the biggest transaction generally anyone does.
It is the largest financial transaction that most Americans will make. And one of the avenues that I like to advocate to help people get the kind of education and information that they need is going to their local housing counseling organization. Oftentimes, those services are free, so you need to check that out. Make sure it's a HUD certified housing counseling agency. About 25 to 30% of our members at the National Fair Housing Alliance are also certified housing counseling organizations. And housing counseling organizations have a range of ways that they can provide education to consumers. You can get educated online, you can go in person if that's the way that you get down. You can do that if you're an OG like me. You want to press the flesh. But also there are a lot of utilities, online utilities, that help people get educated about the home buying process. So you have a lot of corporations like Zillow and Truist and Wells Fargo that have those resources online. The GSEs, Fannie and Freddie, have some of those resources online. And organizations like the National Fair Housing Alliance, we have those resources online as well. One of the things that we're doing futuristically, looking ahead, is we want to build, you hear a lot of people talking about agentic agents.
Yes.
So this is an AI tool that is operated by large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini and Copilot. You hear a lot of financial services organizations talking about establishing agentic agents to help facilitate the lending process. Well, what we want to do is build agentic agents for consumers. So it's a consumer-focused agent that will help provide people with information in real time as consumers are facilitating their way through, sort of matriculating their way through that loan application process.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So what I heard, my net message was there are so many avenues. So if you have an interest, just lean in. Find a space because we're all here to help.
Yeah, and what we hear from consumers, because we do a lot of educational programming for consumers, what we hear is they're deluged. Like it's like they're drinking from a water hose because they're getting so much information. They're getting information from their family members, from their friends, from their real estate agent, from the lenders. They don't know who to trust. And so I think this whole issue of trust
Yes.
is going to be key and paramount. That is where and when I say our, I'm talking about us
Collective,
sitting
yes.
here. It's where our reputation comes into play. The better your reputation, the more people will trust you, which is why we work so hard to make sure that we maintain a pristine reputation so that when the public comes to us, they know that we're a trusted advisor.
That's right. That is really key because it is such a big transaction, right? So Shireen, I'm really interested from a digital perspective. You have all of this data that you've been collecting. How are you seeing different generations tap into education maybe a little bit differently than going to a counselor or to a financial institution?
Well, we know through our research that over half of people cry during the home buying process. So it is a very emotional experience, right, to buy a house. And there's also a lot of fear and shame that can come when you're looking into your finances.
Very
and
true.
so what we know is that the younger generation, they're digitally native, and they also want to learn more privately before they go and speak with a professional. And so we provide tools to allow folks to do that. Our buyability tool is one of those tools, so you can put in your income and your debts and all those things, and it'll match you up to, hey, what's possible for you? Is it possible for you to look at home ownership, and you might be routed to a pre-qual process? Or do you need some time to get some counseling, get your credit score up, and so can we route you that way? And that's good for consumers because you're not setting expectations that are out of line, but it's also good for business because that means higher quality leads for those lenders who are trying to convert that into a mortgage, and they're not wasting time with folks who just aren't ready. We know that 48% of renters still aspire to buy, so it's a big part of the American dream. And our hope is that we can help people along that journey.
Awesome, thank you. So I have just been notified that we need to move into the next phase because we really do want to hear from all of you. And so you're going to see some poster boards kind of placed throughout the room. And I'm going to ask my guest here to help us facilitate the conversation. And so if each of you could just share the board that you are going to partner on, and if you need my help to kind of go through that, I'm more than happy to do that. But you all are such phenomenal experts. And so what we want to do is provide you with a topic, and we want you to come to the board and give your ideas and your thoughts. We're also here to answer your questions. But we want to hear from you, and what do you think should be done differently? Again, the whole beauty of this connection and interaction is for it to be a two-way conversation, and for us to take that information back and figure out how can we look at things differently? How can we take the ideation from this room and make some things reality to make it easier for consumers and for our clients? Does that work for you guys? Sound good? And everybody's gonna lean in, right? Because this is all about leaning in and being empowered to make a difference. Make it happen.
I love the collaboration.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, Shireen, your board?
So I may need some help here.
Okay,
but
I got your back.
I'll be running a session around AI tools to help with consumers to engage and buy in the home process.
Yes. So how can consumers, like what do you all need as we think about technology? I probably would venture to guess there would be a high number of folks in the room that haven't necessarily engaged with a lot of AI just yet. Let's see if I'm right or wrong. How many people on a consistent basis utilize AI? Okay. All right. So it almost looks like maybe 50-50 on that. So we want to hear from you. What would make it easier for you? What tools maybe are you finding that are highly productive, help you out a ton, that maybe the rest of this room would find very valuable? Roland?
I believe my topic was around how do we engage younger homeowners and get them educated and ready to buy?
Yes.
Because there is this gap between
That age 40 number you said
at
is
age
scary.
40. Yeah, you knew that I was going to throw that
Oh, absolutely.
stat out there.
Absolutely.
And so I believe I'm going to have this board back there. So please come with some innovative information and ideas. I'm going to use them, by the way. So
Yes.
please do.
Awesome. And Lisa?
Okay, I think my topic is increasing the inventory, the supply of affordable housing units. That includes newly developed affordable housing units as well as upgrading naturally occurring affordable housing units that may not yet be up to code. And I think
Perfect.
I'm going to be back there.
Right back here. Perfect. You all did amazing. I love it. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and jump in, and then I will pull us all together for our closing. But let's go ahead and get up and move around the room, and feel free to go to more than one board as well.
So the top two ideas that we had, I think one is this idea of being able to design your own home virtually and then match that up to listings, like so you could find a house that's close to it, or match you to a builder that could help you with it. And I love this idea because close to 20% of listings on Zillow are empty lots. And it's very hard, it's very intimidating for people to think about building their own home. A lot of people would like to do it, but they can't find the right partners and builders, and it's intimidating to buy land. And so really love that idea. The second one that I really liked was this idea of more tools for loan officers for underwriting. It takes a long time to close a loan, 30 days, 45 days. There's a lot of old technology that those folks are dealing with to get it through the system. And so if we could speed that up, like what if you could close your loan in 2 days or a day? It would be amazing. So those are the top two ideas.
Here, I'll take it. All right, we're going to move over to the next one here. And I see some fabulous writing happening.
Okay, so for our top two, we were still working. So part of this is my choice too, but our top two are one, changing and updating, revamping, modernizing ordinances and codes to both support the development of affordable housing units and also to prioritize owner-occupied housing units. And so this is kind of speaks a little bit to a lot of the land use barriers that are in place in many jurisdictions, as well as the sort of challenge of institutional investors buying up what affordable housing inventory there is available in units. And then the second one, which I love, is giving employers incentives as they come into jurisdictions or they seek some type of discount for their taxes or some other kind of incentive they may want from the jurisdiction, and tying that to that employer supporting the development of affordable housing units. And so one of the things a couple of people said was there used to be a time when corporations did a lot of work to fund and support the development of affordable housing units. And we're not really seeing that anymore. So let's incentivize those corporations to get back in the game.
And Mr. Washington, mic's probably working, right? Yep, awesome. Go ahead.
Check, check, check. There we go. Yes, ma'am. And you provided a lot of good insight, so thank you. Matter of fact, I'm going to talk about yours first. So one of the key themes was really changing the mindset. So we were able to go through a multitude of different scenarios where we could provide more information and outreach and education to the younger population. But changing the mindset was that key factor in everything that you see listed here. So really helping young adults understand what home ownership means, the value in it, and how to get into home ownership, how to start. We heard from a few folks about their experiences with their parents or their experience going through the process. It becomes extremely difficult. So how do we change that mindset shift to be more informative, to empower younger adults so that way they can make that home ownership decision a little earlier? Another one is making entry into home ownership easier. So when I wrote that, I thought, wow, easier. And as I think about that, does that mean we're providing enough information and education up front so that way that process feels smoother for some of our younger adults. It's not necessarily easier, they're just more informed and more empowered to make the decision around home ownership, because that's going to be one of the biggest transactions they make in their life. Can I do one more? One more? Okay. We said top two. We said top two. Said top two. Another one that was really interesting was more partners in the community providing support. So we talked about HBCUs, we talked about the empowerment of nonprofit organizations. How are they engaging with young folks now? Are they meeting them when they're at their universities? Are they meeting them when they're in high school? How can curriculum change the behavior around home ownership for some of our young folks, right? So that way, and then when they're ready to buy, they've had this tutelage over the years, so that way they build that confidence to make that financial decision. So we have tons of organizations, and Operation Hope does a great job of providing financial coaches, but we have tons of nonprofits that are out there that can provide that type of support. But that is one of the key missing ingredients for some of our young folks, is that information to empower them on their journey.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
Fabulous.
Love it.